Good morning, good morning. Welcome everybody. We are doing today's Ambition Growth Network live here in the Coronavirus Business Support Group and also in our members AGN group as well. So we're really honoured to have one of our founding members today, Tony Smith. He has come all the way from Lincolnshire to come and share with us his genius technology solutions. A lot of people from COVID have kind of come out of it looking at new ways of dealing with people at home and offer solutions, and we're here to pick his brains and see all the wonderfulness that he comes to offer. So please welcome Tony Smith. Hello.
Oh, hello, here I am. Is it
like magic? You've popped out of the green room and here you are to come and share with us. So welcome, Tony. It's really lovely to have you on here. I know obviously you volunteered only a couple of days ago, but as I said, it's great to have that visibility and the opportunity to share with everyone all your wonders. So yeah, give us a little rundown, tell us a bit about yourself and tell us all about Genius Technology Solutions.
Wow, how long have we got on the show?
Oh, 45 minutes. We've got ages.
Oh.
So yeah, this is going to be awesome. Have you got my cup? Look, be awesome, just to remind you, okay?
Oh, just there's a hint. Well, from my side, be a genius.
Be a genius. Wow. It's going to be a good morning, I can tell.
We live in hope, yeah. So, Tony Smith, we're based up here in Lincolnshire. I'm in Grimsby personally, but we cover the UK and we provide businesses with solutions for their phones, their Wi-Fi, their broadband connectivity, as you may get the hint over my shoulder.
It does kind of say what you do on the tin, isn't it?
I suddenly, when I was networking, when all this started, we started going to the Zoom and online networking world. I suddenly thought, well, I've got this banner in the back room. Why don't I put it up? And it has been surprising how many leads have come from it, where people have been online and sort of said, oh, you actually our broadband's coming up for renewal, and can you? And so it's been useful to do that. So, and it also gives me a prompt as to what we do. So, because
I love that. But actually, it's a really good hint, isn't it? Actually, if you don't tell people about what you do, they're not going to remember. And especially in the big networking groups, when you go on and just have your name on there, again, everybody gets like 30 seconds to a minute. And actually, it's really good to have a visual prompt there as well, isn't it? So,
yeah. So it's work. So that's tip number one of the day. So it's
I love that. Just give the value. Definitely.
But as I say, we started when I retired from the police. I've done 30 years with Lincolnshire Police, and when I retired from that, I started looking around for new challenges. And part of that was my son started up a business, and that's what has evolved to now be Genius Technology Solutions. He had a background with phones and that business, so I, being dad, started helping out, and now I've got very much involved in the networking, the marketing, the support side of things. But it's been great for us working together, because we often hear the phrase about working in the business and working on the business. Well, we had the opportunity of him working in the business, being the operations guy, the technical guy, and me being able to work on the business in setting things up, building the relationships, and working in the back room, as it were. But I seem to have come further and further forward, and now I get to do all these things.
Oh, that's really, really good, actually. I mean, I look back at my history, and I've run a business with quite a lot of my family as well. So my sister worked with me and my daughter, and actually it was just a really nice kind of feeling of having that trust and that kind of companionship and building something together, isn't it, for the future? So fantastic. We've just got a little comment. We've got a comment already. How nice. Oh, look, Lizzie. Lizzie's watching. Good morning. Very lovely to see you, Lizzie. Thank you so much for saying hi. Really appreciate that. Just a quick one, obviously, if anyone is watching and has any burning questions for Tony or anything they'd like to discuss or ask, then do feel free to pop in a little comment as we go along, even if it's just to say hello. And yeah, that's fantastic. Good stuff. Right. Go back to it, shall we? So obviously you've got your son working in the business. Obviously you're doing the out and about stuff now. And I said, obviously, I've known you for a few years. So, yeah, and I said, obviously, we got to know each other through a, business mentorship kind of group as well, wasn't it? I think from that point of view. And I said, it's really interesting to see our journeys and see how we've kind of evolved and really taken the next steps from that point of view, isn't it?
I think the big thing that I've taken from that, and particularly having got involved with groups such as this, is the value of collaboration and mutual sharing and helping one another out. It's not about competition. It's not about this is mine. This is these are my customers. It's about sharing with people, isn't it? It's about helping each other to grow, because there's enough business in the world for everybody. But it's far better if we can help each other achieve things. And so that's very much my mantra is find a way you can help. If there's some way you can help, then everybody wins.
Definitely. And with the type of stuff that you're offering, everybody needs that sort of stuff nowadays, isn't it? I think it's become much more important now, even in the last kind of few months since lockdown. I said, obviously, having decent Wi-Fi has been what everyone's been raving about, isn't it? I don't think a lot of us would have survived without it. And I said,
I think it's very much, it's a utility that everybody relies on and expects to be there. You walk into a room, you flick a switch and you expect the light to come on. You go to the tap and you turn it on, you expect water to come out. You now go to anywhere, whether it's hairdressers or a hotel, or you get your phone out if you're in a public waiting area, and you expect to be able to connect to the internet to browse. I mean, you go to the hairdressers now. Well, you clearly go to the hairdressers. I maybe need to go to, but you go there and nobody picks up magazines anymore. Everybody's sort of now everybody gets the phone out and starts connecting and sort of doing the Facebook or emailing or catching up with stuff. And so it is that utility that people rely on and expect to be there. And that's where we come in helping businesses to get the most out of that in terms of that connectivity. Not only the actual physical connectivity, but how to then utilise it best to help their business grow, to help them engage with their community, whether it's staff internally or whether it's people, the customers or potential customers. It all gels together.
It does, isn't it? We've got another little comment popped up. I'll just pop it up on the screen. So this is from the lovely Brian. So Brian's one of our brand new members. He only joined up yesterday. So he's a new member of Ambition Growth Network. He joined through BBX, actually. And actually, I met him on a networking event that we did a couple of days ago. And as you can see, he does a lot of networking. And I think actually it's really great to be able to collaborate and share and grow bigger and have this network across the whole of the UK or even globally, isn't it? And I think actually it's making the world a much smaller place, but actually we want to be feeling like we're connected. I think the world's very much, especially in lockdown, we're all stuck in our houses, aren't we, Jane? And actually we're missing that group mentality, that kind of what naturally we should be living in much bigger groups, isn't it? Rather than just ourselves and our kids and the dog or whoever we're stuck in the house with. But actually it's that keeping communication open and making sure that we're connecting with people daily.
It is, I think, and I mean, it's interesting to see Brian there. I saw that he joined the group yesterday, and
collaboration is big. Yes.
Thumbs up for that one, Brian. So I've connected with him on LinkedIn last night, and it's interesting to see Brian's got similar interest himself, not just the technology side, but he helps and supports people recovering with issues with alcohol, and likewise another of my strings to my bow is being involved with another former colleague or friend that we both know, John Risby from the Alcohol Free Shop, and so we work together on that. Well, he's over in Spain, so but again, it's this sort of connectivity that enables us to do it as though he's in the next office. Or
I think you never know who you're going to meet, is it? As I said, obviously, you can kind of come across thousands and thousands of people throughout your business. But actually, it's the ones that you can make that connection with, isn't it? And actually take those relationships a bit deeper, which is what we love with Ambition Growth Network, because actually you're spending time with these people, getting to know them, getting to know what they do outside of their day-to-day business as well, and actually forming really good friendships as well along the way, isn't it? So,
But that's the secret to it. It's building relationships, and that's what networking is all about. Because it frustrates me, people that go to networking events, whether it's online or whether it's back in the day. Remember back in the day, occasionally people went out, they all gathered together in a room, they would share stories and maybe have a drink, and I don't know, it was centuries ago that was. You're probably too young to remember. But
I wish.
but it's all about building relationships, and it's no good going to these events, or whether it's online or whatever, and saying, "Well, what am I getting out of it?" Or, "No, that didn't work. I didn't get any leads or sales out of that." It's not about that. It's about connecting with people. It's about having the one-to-ones out of the meeting, and then developing that relationship and engaging with people and finding the common interest and finding how we can help others, not just "Oh, come and buy from me. I've got the best whiz bang that you've got to have this whiz bang." But it's not about help. Like I say, it's collaboration, and it's about helping one another, isn't it?
It is. It's about nurturing as well, isn't it? I think actually for anything that wants to grow and become something awesome, you've got to nurture it. You've got to look after it. It's not going to happen necessarily straight away. And actually, the best relationships take a little bit longer, don't they, to actually evolve and grow. And as I said, with collaboration and finding out interesting stuff. I know in our members meetings that we have weekly, and some of the information that people come out with, it blows my mind, Jane. I think it's that age-old thing of you don't know what you don't know. And when you're mixing with different people from different industries and different businesses and different backgrounds, like you were saying, you were in the police beforehand, and kind of people who've come from very different aspects in the society and had very different educations, very different backgrounds, and it's really lovely just to gel it all together, come together as one big group, and actually look at collaborating and seeing how we can all go forward to excel in life, isn't it?
But it's interesting. It's, as you say, it's interesting people's different life experiences and how that plays into what they've done. I mean, for myself, I've grown up in the countryside. I grew up on a farm. I never thought that I was a businessman or anyone who had business experience. But then I look back at what my parents did and the entrepreneurial spirit that my granddad had in buying a farm back in 1915, and then adding to it, and then my dad taking out grants to improve and modernise that farm back in the 1960s. But it was modernisation then, and it was utilising grants and funding to do that. And the brave steps that they were taking in terms of the commitment that they put in. But to me, it was just, it was part of family life. And then when I joined the police, I'm thinking, when I was leaving the police, I'm thinking, well, I'm a policeman, I know how to investigate things, I can take statements, but actually, I'd learned how to talk to people. I had to sort of spread messages, whether it's about community safety or crime prevention or whatever the topic was. I had to engage with people. I had to build partnerships, and that's what I found has come to the fore now. And I think it's part of that that feeling of, I've always enjoyed problem solving. I've always enjoyed helping people, and that's what fuels me now. That's what I get the buzz from now, is solving somebody's problem in terms of their connectivity, helping their business work better, just helping them have a better life. Because actually, I've only got a little child that's screaming because he can't get a pig all the time, and everybody else can. But actually, now I can scream.
Yeah, I think communication is so important, isn't it? I remember when I started at college, so this is going back to the mid-90s, and I studied communication studies, and it was the first year that they'd actually done this as an A-level. And at the time, I loved talking, and I was really intrigued by communication. It was something that some people were really, really good at, but some people really weren't. And a lot of people weren't picking up on the social cues. And obviously, again, now, obviously, we look at people that are on the spectrum and things like that. And obviously, now it makes more sense from that point of view, isn't it? How they struggle with that. And I think technology especially is really, really helping people that perhaps struggle with their reading and writing. Obviously, the way that we communicate now, obviously predictive text and all these wonderful things. And I think actually technology's made us be able to connect globally, especially with the language barriers, with the education barriers, how we can actually contact people now via email, through Facebook. Sometimes I think there's too many streams of contact on there. And I think, oh, I read a message. Was it a text message? Was it on WhatsApp? Was it on Messenger? Was it through Telegram? I mean, there's so many different ways that people can communicate nowadays, but I think actually it's giving us such a big opportunity, isn't it? But it all relies around, obviously, what you provide there with the phone lines, with the Wi-Fi, with the broadband, to actually that underlying foundation, I suppose, isn't it, which we can all build our businesses.
Yeah, and it's not just the sort of connecting. We talk about networking and building connections with businesses, but for businesses, whether it's business to business or business to consumer, you've got to engage with your customers. You've got to engage with the wider community for people to build awareness of what the issue is, who you are, how you can solve it, for them to start coming to you. So in essence, the screen that we're looking at now, whether it's a mobile or whether it's a laptop or a desktop, it's now becoming a shop window. And you've got to, it's all very well that you can have a beautiful shop window display, absolutely the best. It could be award winning in terms of a shop window, but if nobody's coming down the street to look at it, then it's worthless. And if people come browsing past and they look at it and think, oh, that's a nice shop window, and then they move on, it's no good. You've got to, once they've seen it, you've got to get them through the door into the shop, and then you've got to actually talk to them. And this is, all of this has now become online, and it's all the Facebook, all the engagement that you can have. You've got to do that to generate the interest, to generate the awareness. People know they want to buy a car, for example, but then they start thinking, well, what sort of car do I want? Do I want a big SUV? Do I want a small fun car? Do I want a family car? So they narrow it down that way, and then they sort of think, well, actually, which ones do I like? Oh, yes, I like the Mini. I like, oh, that's nice, a nice convertible Mini. That's the sort of thing. So they focus and they hone in their inquiry, but they've got to have the awareness of what's in the market, and you've got to be in there to show them what you're about, what offers you've got, what the benefits are. And then be sort of, it's educating, it's raising that awareness, building your credibility, and then sort of and sharing. And I suppose from my point of view, I don't look at myself as a salesman. I don't see myself selling to people. I much prefer to look at it as saying, well, I enable people to buy. I'd rather provide the solutions and the education, and if people want to buy them, that's great. Yes, I want them to buy. Please, if there's anybody needs help with their phones or their Wi-Fi or their broadband connectivity, please call us. But generally, I want to enable people to buy, to want to buy from us, and to come to us.
Fantastic. So obviously you were talking about the value and how being visible and getting your name out there, getting your traffic. What sets you apart from other companies that are out there offering similar kind of things? So things like BT or Virgin or Sky or Utility Warehouse, all the other kind of companies that are out there that offer the same kind of provisions. How do you do it differently?
I think the key for us is that sort of customer service and support. It's the personal touch. We like to sort of think ourselves as to providing the service that we have nationally, globally, but always keeping it local. So we want to be on hand for you. We want to be able to talk you through. We don't want to talk in jargon. I could talk to you about ADSLs and megabits per second and gigahertz and all the rest of it, but you want to know that, do I have something that will you be able to stream Netflix when you sort of switch the telly on at night? Will you be able to connect your device when you're up in the back office in the back of the house, as well as down in the front room? So we trying to sort of take the geekiness out of things and just to be able to help people find the solutions that they want. When we want to make it bespoke, it's not just a case of we going, oh, well, we've got this solution off the shelf, here's the box, this is what you want. Don't worry about, I know there's 2 or 3 elements that you don't solution for you. It infuriates me. Again, I've got lots of passions, I'm afraid. You might have a soapbox or two, but it infuriates me where people have they develop a brilliant solution and then they go off hunting around for a problem for it to fit. I would much rather talk to people about what is the issue, what's the issue that you're having, and then we'll build a solution to suit you. It might be to do with the connectivity, it might be to build in with your phones. Business resilience now is a great thing in terms, we've been hit with COVID and the pandemic, and there was the immediate rush of everybody, send everybody home, we can't stay together in the office. And now things are settling down. We've got the risk of another wave coming along. We've got all the sort of problems of how do we sort of keep going. Are we going to have, then we've got winter coming along, so we could have snow days, we could have the wrong sorts of leaves on the line, not that anyone's using the trains now anyway, but there's potential of flooding. There's all these things that impact on daily life. And it's, what is the business resilience? How do you keep your business going? And so that's the sort of game that we're in. We want to look at your connectivity. Have you got the best connectivity for your needs? How do you maintain contact, not just with your customers, but also with your staff? If you've sent everybody home, how do you keep that team spirit going, and how do you sort of keep people motivated? So those are the sorts of issues that we're grappling with and looking at sort of how we can support businesses to keep going.
Sound of that. Talking about viruses, because obviously COVID-19's been, well, I've got to say in my lifetime, one of the biggest things that's hit the UK and worldwide from that point of view. And obviously today marks the 19th anniversary, doesn't it, of the Twin Towers? And I think kind of looking back in history, that kind of really hit home, obviously, from an attack point of view. And I think when I look at things like Wi-Fi and technology, as obviously viruses from that point of view, can you go through and explain kind of from a business point of view what you would recommend for viruses, obviously for online viruses and things like that? Do you have specialist kind of things in place, or do you recommend free ones or Norton? Obviously there's so many things out on the market, and I think sometimes people get decision fatigue over actually all these different choices of which ones to go for. They all look like they do similar kind of things, but again, if you're not too techie, it's really difficult.
Yeah, they all do similar things, and they all do similar things to a better or greater degree. But as ever, the mantra of prevention being better than cure is absolutely the way forward. Again, it's highlighted things, I think, with lots of people suddenly working from home. They've taken their laptops home, or they're working on sort of shared networks. So they might have somebody who's gaming in the household that's sharing the same network, that's playing Fortnite or Minecraft or whatever, and suddenly somebody's used that system to access your network, that then accesses your company's network, that then suddenly corrupts all your files. Not intentionally. It's not somebody doing it as a deliberate hack, probably. It's just someone that sort of thought, as sadly these people do, that, oh, well, let's have it, let's spread some virus or whatever. There are obviously the malicious ones where people are doing it to try and entrap you and try to sort of access systems so that they can either extract information or they can hold you to ransom, the ransomware type things, and denial of service. I think there's hardware things that can be done. So if it's a company, then you can sort of set things up in your home so that you have a dedicated channel for your work and for your access to the internet, and everybody else in the household has a separate one. that also has the benefit of it. It reduces the drain on your Wi-Fi, so you're not getting this issue of bandwidth and everybody eating up your bandwidth just as you're in the middle of the Zoom call. And you go,
yeah, and then we freeze, and then it all goes funny, doesn't it? I think with having kids home.
That was actually me freezing, not the program.
It's quite funny though, isn't it? I've had quite a few people kind of, as I said, on the Zoom calls, and you never know who's frozen, and then you start panicking whether it's you or whether it's somebody else. And I said it can be really, really frustrating, isn't it? Or when, as I said, obviously people are trying to use like the 4G and things like that as well for obviously doing it on their phones, or they're going out walking. Sometimes that can be a bit tricky, isn't it? If they're out and about in the car or walking around, sometimes it can be quite tricky to keep the connections there, I suppose.
Yeah. I just add to the point that I was making there before. I did actually freeze.
You froze.
But is to back up, and I would urge everybody to back up their systems, their files. A lot of us now work in the cloud, and things are available in the cloud. But you need to back up the work that you're doing and make sure that it's safe there. But have a backup of the backup as well. So it's no good backing everything up to your hard drive or a separate segment of your hard drive or something like that, because if that gets fried, it's gone. So have a backup of a backup somewhere, so that you've got the ability to access that. And I think whilst we don't supply that sort of ICT support, then we work with a number of partners that do. There's a lot of people that have strength in that area, but they'll very easily, they will support small businesses particularly. They can take the worry out of it, but make sure that your systems are backed up, that they're updated. If you've got software updates, then do the software updates, because they're protect your systems, and make sure that you do the backup.
Definitely. Lizzie's just commented, actually. I completely agree there. Totally agree on backups. I've had 3 separate places, got images going back at least 15 years. I've got to say, it's one of those things, isn't it? Jane, you've got it on your phone, and you've got it on your computer, and you've got it on the cloud, which the cloud always baffles me. I think, well, it's going to rain one day, isn't it? That's what clouds do. And obviously, it's all going to be like, it's gone crazy, isn't it? Again, it's so important, isn't it? And it's always the way, when you need it the most, it disappears. Or I said, I had a client the other day had a house fire. They had it all backed up on hard drives, but if it's in a fire, we're a bit stuffed, don't we? So, good thinking, Lizzie. Love that. I've also had someone say hello. I'm not quite sure who they are. They've sent a lovely little wave. If anyone's watching that wants to comment, because we're doing it through StreamYard, you do need to give permission for your Facebook user name and photo to show up. Otherwise, we don't know who you are. It'd be lovely to say hello. So please do that, and then come back and say hi. All good, all good. Lovely sort of stuff. So, who do you use as your? Have you got a provider that you use on your own stuff at home?
For backups and things like that. Well, we've got. I suppose we've got a number. I mean, what do we use at the minute? I think Bulldog is Bulldog. I forget the name of it now. You've caught me on the hop.
Didn't I? Sorry.
Oh, what is it? It's something like Bulldog or Bullguard or something like that. Is one that I use at home. But again, we have an arrangement with a local sort of partner that does IT support. So our office systems by them, and they sort of the virus checkers and things like that.
It's good to be safe, isn't it? I know I've been on quite a few kind of online courses about cyber security, and some of the things that I was learning was just, a lot of it is common sense, but there's some really interesting stuff that people talk about like passwords, especially. Passwords seems to be the new buzzword at the moment. And I know when you do it on your phone, they come up with these amazing passwords that have got 75 different kind of symbols, and they're very, very strong passwords. But then other people are just using their kid's name or their dog's name or changing kind of a letter out for a number and things like that. And as I said, obviously understanding how easy it is for someone to hack into your accounts and stuff, isn't it? So yeah, it's really important.
The people have got access to, I mean, technology is good where it's used for good, but equally it can be used for nefarious purposes as well. And so people have got access to things on the dark web that will just run a series of options, and just keep trying them and trying them and trying them. But I think the biggest risk comes to people of it's just that common sense thing of before you open something up and before you click on the link, just think about where's it come from. Is it a trusted source, or is it, is there something just a little bit funny about it? And in terms of passwords, then I think my advice is up to date in sort of saying that if you have 3 non-related components to it, so for example, a dog's name, a date or some significant number, and whatever town or something, something like 3 things related that you run into the same password, and that's more difficult because there's no sequence in there. There's nothing there that a machine can just run through and randomly catch. I mean, for someone to say 1979 Sam Benidorm would,
Be interesting if someone's got that one.
That's another story. I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah, we don't want to get too confused here, do we, with all the bits and pieces. But I think, obviously with using technology comes a huge responsibility, doesn't it? Because I think I was talking about this on one of our members' meetings, actually, about staff, because I know obviously you were talking to me just before we came on about how business resilience is, how we're changing the way that we work. Everyone's working from home. Obviously, the government are now bringing out, obviously, this initiative about having new startup people under the age of 24 that are on benefits, new apprentices. But again, they're getting their hands on your computers day one and aren't necessarily trained the same way, perhaps, as a business owner, that you would think in the same way from a technology point of view, and all the things that you kind of need to tell them before they even get let loose on it. And just saying about opening up emails and clicking on links or attachments or invoices and things like that. So it's so important to make sure everyone in your establishment obviously are completely aware of how this works.
Yeah, and the other thing is, is in terms of things are increasingly mobile now, and I suppose people store things in the cloud, but there's still the potential of people coming along with a USB stick and sticking it into a port on a computer and downloading stuff or things like that. Well, actually, that's the easiest way to get something in. So if they've also on their USB stick, they downloaded something that they've been looking at on the net before or whatever, and it's got a bad link, then that, as soon as it's engaged onto your computer, then that sort of pushes something into your system. And invariably, humans are the biggest factor in terms of all the security. It's the human factor. Apparently, in order to be a senior officer in the military or in the working Ministry of Defence, you had to have lost at least 2 USB sticks and a laptop on public transport sometime in your career to get the.
I've got to say, they are the most at-risk kind of people to have lost this stuff, isn't it? I was like, wow, how can you leave your laptop on a bench? I mean, I've done it with my mobile phone, I've got to say, once or twice. I have kind of, put it down and then ran back thinking, oh my gosh, been very lucky with it. But I think, it's a really, really tricky one, isn't it? And I think, as I said, everybody's got to be a little bit more careful about how they deal with stuff. And I think, obviously, how we deal with viruses is really interesting, isn't it? And then obviously with the face masks, so we've got a sanitizer, we've got to wash our hands. But when it comes to technology, it's also bringing that kind of that hygiene to technology as well, isn't it? And obviously clearing stuff down, changing your passwords regularly, making sure that, again, you're up to speed with the best technology. I was speaking with a member of my family the other day, and they haven't changed, obviously, their provider for like 15 years. And they're still paying a huge amount. I was like, I'm paying half the amount, but because they've stayed with the same person, and it's gone up year on year on year, and thought to renew it, had a look at what everyone else was doing, they were on very low speed, very kind of, they had kind of download limits as well. And obviously on a really, really old package. So it's really worthwhile, as I said, like with your car insurance and your life insurance, just review it, isn't it? Just see what's out there. I think you would
absolutely. Yeah, and again, that's another thing that sort of, we have to do for people, is just to sort of do that audit and review of the benefits, things like that. But it is the biggest. I think it's what, as you say, you talk about insurance and things like that, and people, because they've got it, they just let it run. If they've had a phone, they just let it carry on. If they've got a whatever their broadband package and things like that, they just let it run. And yes, it might seem to be working because it's one of those things you don't appreciate how things improve over a period. You also don't appreciate how they decline over a period of time, and you don't know what else is out there. So, for the sake of checking, you could have a look at it. And bear in mind that come 2025, then the existing phone system, the ADSL system, the copper wire, will be switched off. So a bit like the analog TVs moving to digital TVs, then those phone lines will be switched off. So businesses really need to be thinking now about how are they going to manage that changeover. Sitting back and thinking, oh well, it's just going to get sorted out. The BT will come along and they'll the new line. So you want to be making sure that you've protected yourself, because again, we think about how many things are connected to these systems: security systems, alarm systems, CCTV, point of sale payment services, and things like that, and the basic connectivity of the internet and phones and broadband, all those things. So it's better for people to be taking control of it themselves, rather than waiting and then suddenly there's a mad rush and suddenly, oh my goodness, where do I go? How do we happen? Things are going to get switched off. Start taking control now. Look at what the options are and future-proof yourself. And that's what I was talking about earlier with business resilience. It's having a plan rather than reacting to situations. Anticipate things and have a plan in place. And life's so much smoother. It's so much easier.
You feel more in control, don't you? Definitely, when you can do it on your own terms, rather than being pushed into it from that point of view. But I said, it's surprising. I mean, even technology, Jane, like you keep saying, I can't be that old, but I'm in my 40s now, so that's exciting, isn't it? Oh my gosh. And it's quite weird looking back. My dad's just bought. He's bought a new telly, and literally, I was on the phone to him yesterday. He was like, "Oh my god!" And he's got one of these 4K televisions, and he was just absolutely blown away by the difference in the quality. And I said he's still got videos, and it's interesting watching videos, how grainy they were, how slow they were, how bad a quality they were. But you don't realise until you can compare it with what you've got nowadays, isn't it? And I think actually technology is so fast. I think at the moment we're in a massive kind of growth stage in technology, and I think obviously you do need to embrace it. You do need to come on board with it, no matter what age you are. I think obviously a lot of people that perhaps weren't brought up with technology have got a massive blockage with regards to embracing it and owning it. I didn't have computers at school. It wasn't until I started at college that we had 2 computers. But again, it still feels a little bit kind of, I think for my age and above, it can be quite difficult because it's not something that you're used to, but it's not going to be going away, is it? It's definitely here to stay, and I think you just need to keep on top of it.
It is, and you notice how the younger generation, I can talk about the younger generation now because there's a lot more of them than there is of me. They're familiar with it. They grow up with it. My grandsons, well, I've just had one, but that's literally just been born. He's not quite so up on the technology.
It's probably not too far in it.
I can remember Bertie, who was, I think, 2.5, maybe, not quite 3, but certainly 2.5, who was old enough to be toddling about. And his mum woke up and sort of said, well, he was used to playing on the phone, and he knew how to find his way to CBeebies or CBeebies and things like that. And he knew if Daddy was FaceTiming or because he worked away, he would expect to see Daddy, and he would know how to swipe the phone just to change pictures. But she woke up one morning and found him sitting there playing on the phone, and said, how did you get how did you unlock my phone? Oh, with your face, mummy. And he literally got the phone and he held he held it up to her face, facial recognition. Thank you very much. I mean, and he started.
It's genius, isn't it? That is genius. I can see where you got the name from. Got some clever genes going on there. Very good. I've got to say the face thing's really annoying with face masks, isn't it? I've got Apple Pay on my phone, and it's so frustrating. Because every time you go to anywhere, they're like, can't recognise it. It's obviously your eyes, nose, and your mouth, isn't it? But it's quite frustrating from that point of view. Hopefully, you've got your passcodes and stuff to be able to play around with. But as I said, it's one of those things, isn't it? Yeah, obviously, these masks do get in the way of the technology, and it's interesting, isn't it? I love it, love it, love it. But yeah, it's interesting to see what's coming ahead.
Especially having one of these that you could just peel off.
I don't think be interesting to see how long the face masks continue for, isn't it? And that must be really, really difficult from a security point of view. On CCTV, if people are wearing baseball caps and a mask, traditionally you weren't allowed into like anywhere with a helmet on or with face coverings or a hoodie. Must be very difficult for the police and obviously any other people, obviously just trying to work out who people are, really, isn't it?
Well, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing that it was, as you say, it was frowned on to go into a bank with a mask and ask to have money handed over, and now it's expected, it's demanded that you wear a mask.
I know, it's quite random, isn't it? I went to the hairdressers a couple of weeks ago with my mask on, and you get in there and you got your hand sanitizer, and then literally she put this gun to my head, no explanation mark or anything whatsoever, and literally it's almost touching my head to take my temperature, but she didn't tell me that was what she was doing. It scared the bejesus out of me. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, but yeah, we're expected nowadays just to go with the flow, isn't it? I think absolutely.
Very wary about that, Joe. Really wary.
I think she's still great, maybe. Yeah.
When I went to the shop the other day, I was just going to buy some groceries and some beans and things like that, and it obviously eradicated me mind because I came out with bottles of wine and gin and all sorts.
It's always the way, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Fun and games indeed, isn't it? I think obviously a lot more people are going and changing the way they shop as well, though, talking about that, obviously to go and do online shopping from the comfort of their own home on their iPad, and then all of a sudden it gets arrived and just delivered straight outside your door, isn't it? So the world is changing.
We're going back to the thing there, but it has changed life forever, hasn't it? And it's not going to go back to the way it was because life evolves and things move on. Yes, there's a drive to get people back to the offices and back into sort of city centres and things, but I think the driver for that with companies will be, well, how much does it cost? Actually, I think people have found the benefits of working from home or working remotely. They haven't got to commute. They haven't got to be spending money on lattes and lunches and things like that. They've got the convenience of being home. I suspect that in a lot of cases people are more productive. Now, it doesn't work for everybody. Obviously, not everybody's got a comfortable home environment to be able to do it.
Just bear with me 1 second. This is so unprofessional. I've got a delivery at my door, so I'm just going to put you on so you can continue speaking, okay? Just you on your own. I'll be back in like 2 seconds, I promise.
The wonders of technology and the fact that actually we can still have the convenience of working from home and get deliveries. And that's just what I was talking about. But no, essentially the story I was sort of saying was that I think that we'll end up moving to a hybrid model where people can work either in a local sort of business hub or some sort of community setting. So there'll still be that community, that office life, but it won't be the big office life that it was before. I think people do work from home, and I think people like Joe works from home.
Sorry, I do apologise. It was my builder that's work next door. He was like, Joe, you've got a delivery. Why have you not answered the door? I was like, I'm live to the world. But hey, they're impatient, aren't they? So
I have to say, that was brilliant, Joe, the way you handled that. I mean, there was none of this sort of, like that guy on the news who had a child come in and somebody come crawling in behind and what have you. It was just, I mean, yeah, I'm quite sure. Have you got a second job as a newscaster or a continuity presenter?
Well, I put my hat to most things, absolutely. The problem is, obviously, where my study is, I'm literally looking at the guy and he's looking at me going, why is she still sat there? I'm obviously at the door. And I'm like, dearie me. It's fun and games, isn't it? People never know what you're doing. But I think with technology, though, you always feel like you're on. There's no turning off. There's no getting away from it. And I think it used to be, obviously, we used to kind of escape by playing video games and going online. Nowadays, we need to turn the technology off and get out back to nature, isn't it? So it's all about having a healthy balance, definitely. So,
yeah, very much so. And again, it's making use of it as a tool. Don't let it rule your life. Use it to leverage to sort of make the best of your life, whether it's socially, whether it's for work or whatever. But use it for your benefit. Don't be a slave to it for its benefit.
It can take over the world slightly, can't it? So just before we wrap up, obviously, if you could just let people know, obviously, how they can get hold of you, because we can't see the bottom of your banner with all your contact details. So how do we get hold of you, Tony, if we're interested in, obviously, having a call or bring out some more?
If you go online, then it's Genius Technology Solutions. So www.geniustechnologysolutions.com. There's phone numbers, there's contact us, there's a form there. But we're about on LinkedIn. I'm certainly about on LinkedIn, and we've got a company page. And of course, we're about here in the Growth Network. So please get in touch. If there's anything, we're happy to have a chat. There's no obligation. And if anyone's got any issues, and we can help, then we gladly will do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tony. Really appreciate you coming on today and sharing with us some of your wisdom. And it's been really good just to dive a bit deeper, isn't it, and find out a bit more what we do. So obviously, if anybody else from Ambition Growth Network wants to come on and do a spotlight, then get in touch with me and we'll book you in for that. But thank you, Tony. Much appreciated. And you want to say goodbye to everyone now? Give everyone a little wave. It's tradition, on these things now. Obviously, yeah, very odd. But you can give a wave, haven't you? It's all odd. Love it. Thank you, though. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joe. Very lovely talking to you, and hello, and bye-bye.
Oh, fabulous. Bye-bye. Thank you. Well, there we go. We had the lovely Tony. So, yeah, really appreciate him coming on. As I said, it was all very last minute as someone dropped out. So he only knew about it like a day and a half ago. So it's really lovely to be able to share, obviously, his knowledge. And again, such useful things that he does with the broadband and phones and technology. So if you want to obviously find out more about what he does, do get in contact. We'll pop some things in the comment box afterwards. And obviously, just before we go, we're just going to obviously pop a little banner up at the bottom. So Ambition Growth Network, or AGN as we call it for short. If you are interested in becoming a member, do head to our website. Details are just at the bottom there. So www.ambitiongrowthnetwork.co.uk, and then it's /membership. So it's a monthly ongoing subscription. We've got an eclectic mix of wonderful entrepreneurs and business owners that have come together to help grow network across the whole of the UK and really help one another from a referral basis, but also from a business support and personal education as well. So I'd love to see you in there. If anyone's interested, do drop us a line and we'll happily have a little one-to-one with you. So take care. Nice to see you all. Bye.